All right, the first question. I have an issue with Meta Conversion API. As soon as I published my Google tag in Google Tag Manager with parameters, and I assume this is about, Google tag in the client-side container. Once I publish that tag with parameters, like server container URL, event ID, action source, my GA4 traffic dropped to almost 0 in seconds. I removed 3 parameters, published again, and it came back to normal straight away. The website is a single page application. Do you know why this happened? It's difficult to answer without seeing this setup, but usually my troubleshooting process goes like this. You mentioned that you have 3 parameters and you remove them and everything is fixed, but the problem is most likely in one of them. Try adding them one by one and then seeing if you manage to identify which particular parameter is causing the problem. So first, let's say add server container ID, then published and see what the traffic in GA4 is. If it keeps working, then add event ID and repeat the same. And once you add one parameter and after that your traffic immediately stops working, then that parameter is the cause of the problem. My bet would be that, like, looking at event ID and action source, they should not have impact on Google Analytics. So my guess that your server container URL parameter is something with that is wrong. Maybe the host name is incorrect. I mean, maybe there's a typo or something, or maybe all of these parameters are correct, but maybe you forgot to add a Google Analytics tag in your server container, for example, because when you send data to your server, that server still must have some Google Analytics tag that sends further to Google Analytics. So maybe there's a problem right here, but it's very difficult to answer specifically this. Why my Google Ads conversion tags keep disconnected all the time, even after being published? Do you know why? If the person who asked this question is here, please elaborate, because I'm not sure I understand what does keep disconnected means, honestly. I'm not sure what this means and where the problem might be. So if that person is here, please elaborate. And then we will be able to come back to this question. Can you trigger an event based on a page view per user? Meaning I want to fire the trigger only once across multiple customer journeys. Ideally, if we could do that without cookies, that would be even better. So yeah, the first option is cookies, but if you don't want to use that, then the second option would be local storage. So you could store, basically, if the visitor visits a particular page, you fire a custom HTML tag that sets a particular value in the local storage. For example, the name of the parameter in local storage could be visited page true or something like that, and then on all other subsequent pages, you could check with the custom JavaScript variable if visited page parameter is in the data layer in the local storage and its value is true, then you will need to then your trigger should not work. I mean, your tag should not fire in this case. So yeah, that's pretty much it. But just keep in mind that cookies can be shared across subdomains of the same domain. So if you set a cookie on www and then you try to read that cookie on blog.website.com or whatever, then you will be able to access that cookie on all subdomains. If of course you set the cookie on all subdomains. But for local storage, it is limited only to the same subdomain. So if your user journey spans across multiple subdomains of the same domain, your main option is cookies. User ID is available as a first-party cookie, yet I am not able to fetch it via GTM. Looks like I have to ask developer to push it to the data layer. Or is there some other way to fetch it without the need to wait for a developer? So when it comes to cookies and trying to access those cookies with Google Tag Manager, there is one thing to keep in mind. You can access those cookies that are not server cookies. I'm not sure if I will find an example, but let me quickly do that. I will see if I have anything. Okay, yeah. So I have some examples here. This is the GTM Playground website, and some of these cookies might be useful, but it's very important to look at HTTP only. HTTP only means that this cookie is accessible only by the server, and JavaScript cannot access that. So it means that all of these cookies which have this check mark right here, they cannot be accessed by Google Tag Manager. So I would guess that it's very likely that your user ID cookie has this HTTP only flag. So your option would be to ask the developers to remove this, but I really doubt that they will do this because, well, they might look at this, might see this as a privacy risk. So another option would be to ask them to push the user ID to the data layer, and then you would be able to access that. All right, let's move to another question. I'm trying to develop a script that tracks whether the click was the first interaction in the session. The client wants to track a single button click, specifically ensuring that the interaction is first action taken in the current session. I don't see how this is possible because there is a modal that the user has to click to exit in order to view the website. So I guess that's a cookie consent pop-up or something. Because modal is blocking the entire site. That click of that pop-up would count as an interaction. For example, if the user lands on website.com/shop and then clicks on one of the specified buttons, and that click is the first action in the session, the tag should fire. So I don't know the full context here, but based on what I know, if I understand correctly, there are certain buttons that you want to track, and you want to know if they were the first interaction of the session. So if you have those specific buttons, I guess they have certain classes or IDs. So my guess is that probably cookie consent pop-ups buttons don't have those IDs or should not have those IDs or classes. So even if the visitor clicks the consent pop-up button, that should still not be considered as an interaction. It's difficult to show in the format of Q&A session, it's difficult to show everything step by step in here, but I can just give you like some ideas off top of my head, just to kind of throw around some thoughts and see if this is possible. So basically, first you would need to let's say agree with the client on which interactions are actually interactions, and let's say you're tracking clicks, you're tracking form submissions, you're tracking, I don't know, scroll. The question is scroll interaction or not? But basically, if you're tracking, maybe you could agree that every GA4 event that you track is an interaction. So if you don't track the pop-up clicks, then that's not an interaction. And then when any Google Analytics tag fires, you could push some information to the data layer, maybe. Well, maybe I can do this on the spot and on the fly, and maybe we can come up with something. I will not be showing again everything, but maybe something will help. I just got a notification from my streaming tool that that disconnected and then reconnected. Please let me know in the chat if the video is still working for you, because if not, then I will have to do something. Okay. I don't know. Maybe my Wi-Fi is not stable, but it looks stable. Not sure. All right, we'll try to continue. So let's see. We have this script that would create a cookie, and then we would create a tag that would, let's say we call this first interaction or something. And now the value, or maybe first interaction, is button click, maybe like that. And its value will be true. And we can set this, well, 1 month is too long, but maybe we could set this, let's say, to 30 minutes. I don't remember how many seconds are, no, it should be, so seconds should be 30 minutes times 60, like this. So 30 minutes in seconds. All right. I see that the video froze again, but is it back right now? Is it normal again? Let me know. All right, so we have first interaction is button click, and this should be set if that important click happened. All right, so let's trigger, well, I don't have the trigger, but let's say that I have a tag which fires on that particular important button. So I will call this, let's say, if click classes contains important button. This is just a proof of concept. So click important button. Oh no, sorry. We will need that trigger, but we are not using it right here. So we will just set this tag like this without a trigger. So CHTML, create cookie, then the cookie name is true, and then save without a trigger. Then I have this GA4 tag, so I will create an event which will send that button click to Google Analytics. So let's say important button click or whatever, and this will fire on that click, on that button click. Let's fix the typo. Okay, so, and then when this GA4 event tag fires, after that event, although, no, maybe it should not be important click. I mean, maybe it should, the logic of the cookie maybe should be different. So basically, yeah, let's do it like this, just first interaction. Well, maybe we can call it even GTM so that it's more unique. First interaction, and here we will say button or important button. We still save it without a tag. And then here, after we send that interaction with Google Analytics, after this, we could use the tag sequencing. And after this tag, we will set that first interaction is button click. Again, well, yeah, when I'm improvising, sometimes I stumble upon problems in the middle of the process. Maybe we don't need that that tag sequencing. Maybe instead we will indeed use that just click trigger right here. So if the click happens on that important button, then we set the cookie. And this tag should always fire only if there is no cookie created. If the cookie is already created from the past, for example, from 5 minutes ago, another interaction has already happened, and that interaction will create the cookie. So in that case, we don't need this tag to fire again. That's why click important button should also have, well, should also have a rule that the cookie variable, so we will need to create a new variable. Where's that variable? Okay, never mind. I'll try to create that again. Okay, we have that variable. So here equals undefined. It means that the cookie with the first interaction does not exist. Then we will need to create a copy of this script. Of course, there probably would be, it would be possible to create more unique, like a cleaner approach. But right now I just don't have enough time to think everything through, so I'm going with this approach. And then this time we will create a cookie. So the first button, so the GTM first interaction is not a button, but instead it's something else. So we can just call it something else. Something else like this, and then maybe I will need to rename that previous tag too. So is important button. I hope that at the end of this demonstration things will become clear. So now if you have other interactions on the site, let's say you have a form submission trigger, you have scroll trigger, you have other like things. So all of those triggers should be included in something else. Instead of this, you would have some other trigger. Let's say that I have a form submission trigger, so I will just create it. Mission. Maybe I will also add the I don't know what, some custom event, maybe you have that, or let's say YouTube video, maybe watches a YouTube video, so YouTube video. So you have all those other events, right here. Okay, I just realized one problem. So this trigger, it should not be looking for the first interaction, because otherwise we would affect GA4 behavior. So let's just keep this as click contains important button, but we will create a blocking trigger, which will block any event like this, and only those events where does not equal undefined. So if it is defined, if it contains any value, then this blocking trigger will prevent the tag from firing. So blocking GTM first interaction is already captured or something. And then we would add that blocking trigger as an exception to something else tag like this. So in a nutshell, again, I haven't tested this. There might be some problems here and there, but just bear with me. So the idea is like this. If the visitor lands on your site, does not interact with anything, but then interacts with that important button. So it means it clicks a button with this important button class. Then this also, sorry, forgot to add the blocking trigger here as well. So we will add the blocking trigger. Okay, so if the visitor has not interacted with any of these interactions right here, so form submission, YouTube video, maybe anything else, maybe something else that you have included here. So the user has no interaction, and then the user clicks the important button. This trigger is deactivated. I mean, the blocking trigger is deactivated. Therefore, this tag will fire, and it will create the cookie with important button and that cookie will expire in 30 minutes. If you want, you can make it longer. Let's say, I don't know, 1 hour, 2 hours, your choice. And then you could use that cookie variable. It would return either important button or something else words. So then you could use them in some other tag that you want. But if the visitor first comes to your site and watches the video, then this tag will fire. It means that the same cookie will be created, but its value will be not important button, but something else. And then, since the cookie is already created, if the visitor clicks the button, that important button, the blocking trigger will prevent this tag from firing, so the cookie will not be overwritten. This cookie's value will remain something else. And then you can use that cookie that cookie's value. I don't know exactly where you want to use that, but then you can read this and use it in your other tags where you want, or maybe, I don't know, you can fire an event or something like that. But this is the general overview where you check the first interaction. If it's button click, then you store a cookie with one value. If it's not a button click, you store a cookie with another value, and then based on those values, you do something with them. I don't know the full context, so it's difficult to explain everything in greater detail. All right, so I hope that kind of makes sense. I'm sorry that the first probably 10 minutes or so were kind of, I was just rushing and quickly going from here, from there. But when I'm improvising and I have to do this, it's fast. This is how it happens. But hopefully this final explanation makes sense. All right, let's go to the slides. I think I have the final question, and then I will go to the chat. All right, so I've heard that I've heard you mention in your videos that you do not work with mobile apps. Is this still true? Do you deny clients who request app tracking on mobile? Yes, I do not work with mobile apps, and yes, I deny clients if they want mobile app tracking. Could you let me know why you choose not to work with mobile apps? Can you provide any resources that would help me with mobile app tracking? The reason why I don't work with mobile apps is that I pretty rarely get requests to work on them. And it means that if I wanted to work with mobile apps, the problem is that there are not many resources to learn how to work with them. So it means that I would have to spend tons of time of trial and error to try to figure out stuff, because when I see in forums where people struggle with Firebase, there are so many nuances, just probably the same amount as with WebGA4 as well. So it means that I would have to spend a lot of time would be wasted, and then that would and the end result would be that I could help just several companies. Of course, probably I could create a course for that, but it just sounds like, when I weigh the cost and benefits for Analytics Mania and for the audience, I just don't see myself working with mobile apps, because first of all, I would not have enough experience accumulated with mobile apps to teach others, and it kind of sounds sleazy, and I don't know, it's just lame to try to teach other people a topic that you barely know yourself. That's why I decided not to focus on that. I would rather be very good with WebGA4, GTM, and then would focus on a very narrow topics, but then be the household name for people who want to get help, rather than know a little bit of everything, but not be an expert in a particular topic. When you are a freelancer, I say that it is a good approach to know a bit of everything, because then you have a better understanding. But in my position, when people come to me and they ask for an expert opinion, I have to know as much as I can, because I have to help them with certain edge cases. And I still don't know all the answers. I still find myself in situations where WebGTM, WebGA4, or Google Tag Manager, they still behave weirdly, or something is unexpected. But I just did not want to stretch myself too thin working with mobile apps, because again, not enough demand based on what I see, based on the clients that are contacting me, and yeah, hopefully that makes sense. And speaking of learning resources, I haven't seen a single good course on mobile apps. So yes, that sounds like an opportunity for me to sell a course, but that would be a very shallow course, because all other courses that I have seen, they're quite basic. They're just scratching the surface. And if you want to go at least a bit more intermediate level, they will not teach you that thing. And the documentation of Firebase is quite shitty, to say, pardon my French, I would say like that. So yeah, unfortunately, I don't have any good resources on mobile app tracking. And when I meet people who work with mobile app tracking, I tell them like, hey, like there's a really good like opportunity in the market. Like if you created a course like which is like good, then that could be your business. But they just, I don't know, maybe they are afraid, because there is a barrier to creating courses, just because some people are afraid of recording their voice or video or something like that. All right, so hopefully that kind of makes sense. Let's go to the chat. I see several questions there. And then we will take a look. How to set up enhanced conversion measurement for form submission and button click phone number. Enhanced. Well, I will not be showing how to do that, but enhanced conversions, the general setup is explained in beginner course, like how to send the enhanced conversion in general, and then how to get the data that you want, let's see, phone number or email. Well, that depends on where that data is available. If it's in the data layer, then you can simply access that with data layer variable. If it's not available, then custom JavaScript might be needed. And there are plenty of lessons in the JavaScript course on how to access various points, especially when it comes to form submissions. So watch that. I really often have a warning message in Google Ads account to set up enhanced conversion measurement. Okay, well, yeah, I mean, it's the same comment, like a continuation for this comment. A second question, if I want to follow cross-domain tracking, should I have access to admin level on all websites, meaning if one of them is third-party, like CRM platform? Well, you don't need to have admin level access, but what's important is that all those websites have the same Google Analytics tracking code and they're using the same data stream. That's the main thing. And that the interactions that happen between the websites, for example, website A and website B. So when the user goes from A to B, there must be a link click, because that's the only interaction that Google Analytics supports at the moment out of the box. Can you repeat what you said regarding JS and HTTPS? Were you saying that JS GTM cannot access cookies on HTTPS? No, I was not saying that. I am saying that sometimes cookies can be set on like they have this HTTP only flag. It's not related to HTTP or HTTPS. It just means that only server can access that cookie. So only website server can access that, or also server-side tagging can access that. But client-side JavaScript cannot access that cookie. So it's one of the ways how website developers might store some sensitive information and be a bit like feel a bit safer that no client-side tracking codes like Facebook Pixel or other potentially malicious tracking codes, that they will access that sensitive information. Only server can access that information, and it does not matter if website is HTTPS or HTTP. It matters that this flag is right here, and only server can access that. Because, for example, this cookie can be accessed by Google Tag Manager. This cannot. And if you look at here, Oh, sorry, I'm not sharing the screen. Damn it. So this is the flag. This cookie can be accessed by server-side tagging. This cookie can be accessed by website server. Google Tag Manager client-side or any other client-side code, any JavaScript code in the browser, it cannot access that. With Google Tag Manager client-side, you can access this cookie, this, but these two cannot be accessed. They will return undefined. I mean, the variables in Google Tag Manager will return undefined. Then, like, this website is HTTPS. So again, HTTP/HTTPS does not matter here. You might be confused by the name of this flag, which is HTTP only, but it means that you can read this as server only. Only server can access. So the backend of the website can access that code, because every time a request is sent from the browser, let's say, to the server, then the server, together with that request, will get all the cookies, including HTTP only. But JavaScript in the browser cannot access that. All right. Looks like these are the questions. If you have any other questions, please feel free to post them right now. If not, then we may end this session a bit sooner. Speaking of accessing email data about the email address of the user of the form submission, let me try to find maybe certain lessons are, certain lessons in JavaScript course, maybe I will be able to find them quickly. All right. So in the JavaScript course, there is, well, let me go to the homepage maybe. So in that course, for your convenience, in the module 10, I think, there is a use cases of JavaScript in Google Tag Manager. And then I have a list of previously mentioned JavaScript use cases, because in this course, like in the previous modules, there are a lot of use cases, but it's quite difficult. I understand it. It's quite difficult to find specific lessons where I showed something, especially if you revisit the course, let's say, 6 months after you watched the lesson. So there is a list of previously mentioned JavaScript use cases. And here I have the list of, let's say, use case and then lessons where that use case was mentioned. And then one of the use cases was track form fields, like their values. And there are two lessons, one with the form submission trigger and then with the element visibility trigger. For example, if the form is submitted and then the form remains there, but let's say the element visibility, the success message just appears at the top of the form, then you could use the element visibility trigger when that message appears, and then based on that you could travel or traverse the DOM to pick the correct values of certain fields that you need. So that, but again, I would recommend, like, if you are at the beginning of this course, if you have access to the course, and if you are at the beginning, don't jump between lessons, because things will get confusing very quickly. I specifically designed the course where you learn some new stuff and then we practice. Then we learn a bit more stuff, then we practice. And then eventually, when we add more stuff, we also use some stuff from the previous lessons. So to have that continuity of learning journey, please, I would highly suggest not skipping the lessons. If I enable automatically detect user-provided data and specify CSS selectors of JavaScript variables in Google Ads account, will that help in setting up enhanced conversions? Have data in DL. I always avoid using automatic scraping, even though I see that many agencies are using that. But I just don't trust that this will work properly, and that, I don't have that much control. I mean, yes, I entered the CSS selector, but it's just, I don't know, is it trust issues? I don't have the proof that this is a wrong approach, but this does not sound good. It sounds like eventually you will get stuck in a situation where you cannot figure out why that particular thing is not working. So writing your own code and then, trying to find that particular field value, that would be a better option in my idea. So in short, technically it could work, but you will have to test this very, very thoroughly.